Okay, good morning everyone, and thanks for joining us today for the second session in our series of webinars focused on cloud data and technology that we'll be hosting over the course of this quarter and throughout into 2021. Today's theme is, of course, supercharging your journey to the AWS Cloud. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Steve Whiting, Chief Operating Officer and co-founder at Agile Solutions, and I'll be speaking and presenting to you today alongside Tom Richards, who's one of our senior consultants and heads up our AWS team internally. The agenda's on the left, so I'll give you a quick introduction to ourselves as Agile. I'll talk to you a bit about what our customers and what the analysts are seeing in the market related to cloud, and also cover why some of our customers are moving to AWS Cloud in particular. Then Tom will take you through our phased approach to migration and the benefits that can bring you. He'll talk to you about one of the customer success stories that we have, and he will then demo some of the tools that help you accelerate and supercharge your journey to the cloud. There's questions and answers at the end, so if you have any questions you'd like to pose, please click on your GoToWebinar panel, either through chat or the question tab on the right, and if you pose those questions to the organisers only, please, or pose them privately, then we'll pick up those questions towards the end of the session and hopefully provide you sufficient answers. Today's session, as I say, is one or the second in a series, so you will also receive shortly after today a survey, so we'd really value your feedback on that, as it will help us evolve and improve our future sessions throughout the course of this year. So, by way of an introduction to Agile Solutions, I thought it would help you to understand pictorially typically how we help our customers, and it's in one of three areas. So there's a migration, so actually helping our customers move their applications, workloads, data, etc. to the AWS Cloud, and this is our supercharged migration approach that Tom will take you through today. Once your data's in the cloud, or whether it's still some of it still resides on premise, we help you manage that data by integrating it, cleansing it, improving it, consolidating it, and making sure that that data is fit for purpose and is of sufficient quality to support your business. Then thirdly, we come to the monetization stage. So now that your data is proliferated in the cloud and you've captured all of that data, we allow you to drive competitive advantage from that data through machine learning, business intelligence, and really drive the value out of the data to give you a competitive advantage, reduce your operational costs, and increase revenues. So we help our customers migrate to cloud, manage data in the cloud, and then monetize that data. With regards to how the company is structured and from the consulting perspective, we have three communities or go-to-markets: data strategy, governance and advisory, data platforms and engineering, which is the subject of today, and that's the domain which Tom sits in, and thirdly, 360-degree analytics and insight. And as you can see, our range of offerings related to data strategy, data management and monetization along the middle there. We cover end-to-end your journey to cloud and what's you want and how you want to monetize your data. We work with a number of Gartner recognized top quadrant technology providers as well to provide the best solutions to our customers to allow them to achieve their end goals. So I've listed these at the bottom, and as you can see, the majority of those are top quadrant Gartner recognized technology providers. With regards to AWS, which is the theme of today's session, of course, these are the range of services that we cover from an AWS perspective. So from a governance perspective, AWS Glue, Data Brew, Data Catalog, Kendra, through to how we manage our data through latest and best in breed databases such as DynamoDB and Amazon Redshift, etc., all the way through to how we exploit that data by advanced data analytics and real-time analytics with Kinesis, video and audio recognition through Amazon Recognition, and a plethora of AI technologies that are developing now around Athena, SageMaker, and ultimately visualization with QuickSight too. So you can see the full range of services we cover there, and where we help our customers exploit the power of the AWS Cloud. These are a selection of our customers that we help across each of those domains. So you should see some of the logos you recognize there. They're predominantly UK and global organizations, and we cover all verticals. The insight that those customers are providing to us, aligned with also Gartner FlexAir reviews, allows us to take a trend view across the market. And Gartner have a top 10 trends that cover data analytics that were recently released in 2020. And the themes that are relevant, I think, for today is one, the cloud is a given. So Gartner predict that by 2022, public cloud services will be essential for 90% of D&A innovation. So just 10% of data analytics innovation will remain on-premise from 2022. And they also predict that by 2023, cloud-based AI workloads will increase fivefold from 2019 levels to make them one of the top workload categories in the cloud. This is paving the way for the world of data and analytics as well to collide and converge. And Gartner predicts in the other trend that by 2023, 95% of Fortune 500 companies will have converged both their analytics and governance and data initiatives together. They also predict that by 2022, so the next year or so, 40% of machine learning development will be produced in products that don't have that as their primary goal. And we're seeing this in the likes of data cataloging and automated data lineage solutions that really build machine learning into their core and help you accelerate your journey and your advantageous initiatives with cloud and data and analytics. And we're seeing all three of those worlds, cloud, data and analytics, converge. And that's driving a number of initiatives for our customers. So depending on your maturity level, this is from the FlexAir 2020 State of the Cloud report. These are some of the challenges and initiatives that you might be driving towards to bring some of those benefits to your organization. Tom today will cover one of those themes which helps you set a cloud-first strategy, and he'll also cover how we help you migrate either your initial sets of workloads or accelerate your additional workloads to the cloud. Unfortunately, though, moving to the cloud does present a number of challenges, and this, again, from FlexAir survey, indicates the types of challenges that our customers typically come up against. What Tom will do today is take you through our approach that helps you overcome those top 5 challenges there, and also helps you prioritize your apps in order to make sure you're driving the most advantage from that move to the cloud. Gartner also think that in creating a migration plan for public cloud, there are a number of pitfalls and also areas to focus on for success. And Tom again will take you through our approach, which is a phased migration, which helps you understand the complexity of the applications you're managing, the prioritization of them, and helps you build a cost model and a plan to mitigate against challenges and those pitfalls that we see. But of course, there are many benefits to moving to the cloud, and what our customers are seeing and what AWS recognize are these big drivers for migrating to the cloud. In particular, our customers recognize cost savings, so operational or OPEX cost savings, data center reductions in costs, benefits from a resource maintenance perspective as well on managing those estates. They also see the opportunity of large scale compute workloads, so the opportunity to elastically scale workloads up and down according to demand and not paying for excess capacity that you don't need at any particular time. So the large scale compute workloads that we're seeing there. Further, they're seeing the drive to the cloud helps them accelerate agility. It helps them deploy containerization, bring development operations team together with DevOps, drive data ops opportunities, and gives them a faster speed of market from application development and better resource alignment across those internal functions. And lastly, the other theme that we're seeing a lot of is the opportunity to innovate and modernize. So the drive into new software and new technology that Tom will cover, but the convergence then with data and analytics and the whole world of opportunity that driving competitive advantage from your data can bring. So these are some of the key things and benefits that our customers are experiencing migrating to cloud. I'll hand you over now to Tom, who will talk to you about why our customers in particular are migrating to AWS Cloud. Screen should be yours, Tom.
Okay, thanks very much, Steve. Hopefully everybody can see my screen now. And so in this section, I'm going to be going into some of the reasons why our customers look to use AWS as their target cloud platform. I'll be walking through our end-to-end migration process, and I'll give a demo of one of the newer tools available from AWS, which is called Cloud Endure. So AWS provides very much an unrivaled set of services and capabilities. According to Gartner, it's recognized as the world cloud leader for the 10th successive year. So we can see it up there in the top right-hand corner. And these services and capabilities are not just for migration, but also, much more importantly, is the basis for your ongoing management and monetization activities. And obviously, there are new capabilities being added continually. Although we're talking about AWS today, we are cloud agnostic because obviously Microsoft and Google are hot on AWS's heels and continually looking to try and overhaul them. So although this webinar is AWS, we are also equally able to help our customers with migrations to Azure or other cloud platforms. The palette of available services from AWS offers the ability to extend and integrate your workloads in previously impossible ways and to unlock the door of new potential as part of your ongoing manage and monetization activities that Steve was talking about before. But the very flip side of this wide range is that keeping on top of what's available and being aware of how to combine the services for your target use cases needs a skilled partner. So our customers rely on our expertise to enable them to navigate and harness the benefits of all the available services on AWS. So coming out of our experience with our customers, we've developed our own phased approach to migration, which brings together and builds on top of recognized best practices, both from AWS and the wider cloud community. So one of the aspects that AWS offers is the Migration Acceleration Program, or MAP. And what I'll talk about now is how we map to that acceleration program. So as a trusted AWS technology partner, we're able to work closely with our customers throughout their migration journey and beyond. And that's a key aspect of our offering. Is the beyond part of the process, not just the migration. We're obviously able to work together with AWS professional services and bring the sort of best of breed, best of experience to bear at each phase of the migration process. We're able to bring a high level of expertise over a range of tooling, both from AWS and also from our partners outside of AWS, who offer powerful tool sets such as Informatica, Stibo, and Semarkey. And again, this gives us the ability to offer a best of breed acceleration that's tailored to your target workloads. Skilling your workforce for cloud adoption is obviously critical to ensuring success for migration and beyond. We're very experienced in delivering tailored training to our customers over a wide range of technical subjects. We're one of only 2 authorized UK Informatica training partners. We're currently working towards adding AWS to our official training palette, and we would certainly be able to offer AWS training as part of any migration engagement. As I said before, we've developed our own proven migration methodology, enabling you to break free from inertia of complexity and quickly help you to get traction, getting you up to speed with your migration. We're also able to tailor our methodology to your own particular goals, scope, and complexity. And we are able to take on real-world migration challenges that you come across and see you through to completion and beyond. And I'll be walking through this methodology for the rest of this webinar. So building on our proven AWS processes, our methodology comprises 3 high-level stages that provide a systematic approach to breaking down complexity and accelerating you through to completion. The 3 stages are assess, mobilize, and migrate and modernize. So each phase builds on the outputs of the previous one, and each contributes towards an overall accelerated migration at scale. And by walking through these stages in the next few slides, we're able to consider the challenges such as the ones Steve mentioned earlier and look beyond the end of this process to opening up the door to the possibilities that are available for management and monetization of your resources. Although we've shown this in a straight line, we found that the approach works most effectively when applied iteratively to become the core of a new culture of migration management and monetization. And throughout the process, we'll look to work alongside your team to equip and empower them to help develop their own in-house capabilities. So the first stage is assess, and it asks the question, am I ready to consider migrating? And one of the key aspects of this is the consideration of partner selection, because obviously being potentially at the beginning of a journey, having somebody who's been there and done it before, who's worked through all of the complexities and the gotchas that for a migration process is really essential to ensuring success. So some of the key questions at this stage is, where am I now? What's my current architectural and business footprint in terms of application, data quality, infrastructure, very importantly, licensing, and what's my current total cost of ownership? Where do I want to get to? And again, very importantly, why? Looking across the business case, metrics to gauge success, identifying workloads and prioritizing them. And for each workload, what does migration actually mean? Is it primarily data focused, or is there a key infrastructure component as well? Dependencies between workloads, again, what's my target operating model and what's my target total cost of ownership? And which cloud provider am I going to go for, or am I going to go for a multi-cloud approach? And generally, is my business ready? Do I have the buy-in from key stakeholders? Am I ready for organizational change? Because things like governance will need to be in place, operational support, and we'll need to look at any gaps in skills, capability, and what training would be needed to fill those gaps. Tooling is available at this stage, well, every stage, but in particular this stage, we can use the Cloud Adoption Readiness tool from AWS, which captures inputs very crucially from across the whole enterprise, not just one stakeholder or one sponsor answering the questions. We need to get a broad range of inputs. The outputs from that is a detailed readiness report and recommended actions featuring such visualizations as a high-level radar chart with six dimensions, 6 aspects across our business, and how we actually match up across all of those dimensions, and a cloud readiness heat map, which gives us indication of where we're strong, where we potentially need some support and help to get us to where we need to be to start. Obviously, there's a question of whether for our particular workloads we need to tick all the boxes, or whether there's a place where we're effectively ready to make a start on our first workload. And again, we'll help you to identify that and also bring you up to speed on any deficiencies. Another tool available is the Migration Evaluator tool, which gives a deeper dive, a deeper drilling into aspects which will support our business case, such as the assessment of what our target TCO will be, what the right sizing of resources will be, and an analysis of our licenses, which is key to migrating into the cloud. For large-scale migrations requiring more in-depth business justification, we can help you develop your case using the Cloud Economics Center, which is a proven methodology based on hundreds of customer engagements that delivers a compelling board-level business case and justification prior to embarking on large-scale migration. And we'll work together with you to understand and action the various outputs, helping you to achieve the readiness needed for your first migration with a clear plan of action to proceed. So that's the outcome of the first stage. Next stage, we've already answered, I know where I am, where I want to get to and why. The next stage is putting flesh on the bones of how I actually get there. This phase provides us with an opportunity to lay the foundation for tooling, process, and culture that will accelerate your migration to scale. So what one-off preliminary steps do I need to get in place? What migration patterns are right for my workloads? And I'll be talking a bit about migration patterns in a minute. What optimizations can I make while I'm migrating? What tooling is best? And again, what are the license implications and options? We had a look at the licensing in the assess stage, and this is how we actually handle those licensing implications. What automation can I put in place? Can I migrate iteratively or incrementally, reducing the risk and enabling me to bite off small chunks that can be repeated in a quickly and repeatably as I go through the process? And what proofs of concept can I put in place to help inform the selection of my various options? These also build skills amongst your team and confidence from the wider stakeholder community. I mentioned migration patterns. These are different options that are available. Again, it's an industry standard sort of model of how I actually get from where I am at the moment into cloud. Each one has a different combination of one-off costs in terms of effort and skills and corresponding time to migrate to the cloud. And I'll walk through these quickly just now. So the first R is retire. Effectively, is my workload at the end of its useful life, and is it appropriate to effectively decommission it? There will be a cost to decommissioning potentially, but obviously there's zero time to migrate because we're not actually migrating. Retain is another option. Obviously, we can just carry on with a particular workload as is. There may be some investment needed to actually keep the lights on and to keep it going. So that's why there's that's kind of box has gone up the axis in terms of cost there. We can repurchase. We may be able to find a commercial or free open source alternative to what we're already using, in which case we might want to go for that, and that would have a relatively short time to migrate because the provider would have done a lot of the work for us. Rehost is also called lift and shift, where we effectively take pretty much an exact copy of what we already have on premises and migrate it to the cloud. There are situations where this is not necessarily possible because of legacy applications which are have outdated and old-fashioned technology stacks, but it may be applicable. But what we find potentially is that although it has a short time to migrate, and we immediately get benefits from being able to make use of the elasticity and the cost optimization in the cloud, it only takes us a small step forward in our cloud journey. And if we've got wider ambitions in our manage and monetize, then we need to be aware that this will give us a sort of a residual activity to move away from the lift and shift and more into a sort of cloud native solution. Replatform is one step on from rehost. It's where we look at what immediate options we might have for improving our current system, taking advantage of potential PaaS services such as database as a service is an obvious one, and we might want to bring in some infrastructure as code to automate our processes at this stage, and so on. So we're trying to identify some low risk, low cost optimizations that we can bring in as part of our migration. And then refactor is a more wide-ranging restructuring of our application and our solution, so that because we've looked at the potential benefit further down the line of bringing in more cloud native approaches, and we want to do that straight away. We may also find that as part of our refactoring, we also end up with a hybrid approach. So, but as part of that split, we may decide that we do actually want to leave some of the components on premises and but move the remainder into the cloud. So in terms of tooling, we talked about some of the tooling available at the assessment stage. This is the mobilize stage. So obviously data is a key consideration, a key focus, because obviously data is pretty much the core of the value that we're looking to migrate. And it's the one part that's potentially irreplaceable. If anything goes wrong, then the data is the core of our benefit. So various tools there. Clearly, database migration service is one of the key ones. This enables us to set up connections between on-premises databases and cloud databases and create continuous replication from on-premises to cloud, and enable us to have cutover periods for our migration and supporting our business users in having a smooth migration there. There's schema conversion tool, which does what it says on the tin. If there's differences between our source and target schemas, this tool will help us to create mappings and transformations between them. The Snowball family, so a lot of the remaining tools are to do with how we actually move data from one place to another. The Snowball family is one extreme where we have potentially multiple petabytes of data. Snowball provides different sizes of device that we can put our data onto that are physically moved from your data center to AWS data center, and then the data is loaded to the AWS data center. And then there's data sync, transfer, storage gateway, direct connect, Kinesis Firehose for where we have we want to stream data. We can stream it out of on-prem and into low-cost storage such as S3 and into data lakes effectively. So if we want to do extract, load and transform approach, then that's a really good approach as well. And there's a significant array of partner products as well, such as Informatica, which helps to analyze your existing data, gauge and improve its quality, and also help with the actual lifting and shifting of the data. Applications and infrastructure, we need to be able to discover what services we have, migrate them, and there's 3 tools that we'll be looking at later on for helping with predominantly lift and shift approaches. So there's Cloud Endure, VMware, and AWS Outpost. Automation, again, is a key aspect that we look to bring in at this stage wherever possible. It's the foundation for future modernization, gives us the ability to put DevOps release pipelines in place for our business as usual post-migration, make use of infrastructure as code, automated testing, and these all together allow us to achieve an iterative migration process, again, so we can reduce risk and start at an early stage to bite off chunks of the migration process and prove them against our target KPIs. Obviously, it's a question of using the right tool for the right job, which again is where we come in. with our knowledge of the palette of tools, we can enable you, the customer, to select the right tool, and we're also able to apply that tool in the way that it's most appropriate. So we've been through, I know where I am, where I want to get to and why. We now know how to get there. And now we want to look at how we actually go through the actual process of migration and modernization. So we want to put into operation everything that we've done so far. The first phase of that, migrate and modernize, is to apply the migration process we came up with in the mobilize phase. Obviously, the detail will vary from workload to workload, but we will apply the target migration pattern we came up with, covering obviously data, infrastructure, applications, and we'll be using the tooling that we selected earlier. Again, we want to validate the migration outcomes against the target metrics in our business case, and wherever possible, we want to be iterative and incremental. So again, if we're looking to do a sort of a business continuity, keep business continuity from before and after, we'll probably want to do it incrementally so that the last stage is as small as possible. And the outcome of this, the whole stage, is that migration is complete. Modernization is, well, we've achieved our migration into the cloud, that's great, but we don't want to stand still. So we want to monitor operational performance, compare that against our business case. We want to evaluate, optimize, and prioritize. So we will look at actual usages of our resources and see whether how that impacts our business case and whether we can do things better. Again, if we haven't already introduced automation, we will need to do that because using automation, we can use that to help us build in incremental change as we go forward, because we know that we've got the ability to quickly regression test our changed solutions, and we can use that particularly with lift and shift to start replacing as is components with PaaS services. And again, as Steve was saying, continually manage and monetize so that we can make the most of the open door we now have from being in the cloud. So the outcome of the modernized phase is continuous improvement. And obviously we can go back round to multiple workloads. And one key aspect of this is the setting up of migration factories. So the automation can be encapsulated in the concept of a migration factory. So we have ready-made factories that we can now leverage for our subsequent workloads into the cloud. So this is a case study of a system that we delivered for one of our customers before. So in the assess stage, we looked at the existing system, which was a bespoke regulatory system, WebLogic, Java and Oracle, business objects. It was in a third-party data center with the DR mirror, also running in another separate data center. Both data centers were due to close, and this was effectively the final straw because for quite a long time, the technology stack had been aging and well past its end of life, and effectively, the support team were trying to source parts from eBay to keep the lights on, because there was this inertia that potentially you've all experienced. Again, inertia that we were able to help break out of. Additional requirements, obviously maintaining business continuity and address the aspect that there was a very spiky pattern of utilization, which meant that at the end of the year, utilization shot up when the users submitted their end of year returns, which meant that for the most part of the year, there was underutilization of resources, and then at the end of the year, potentially overutilization of those resources. So we looked at the various migration patterns. We looked at retire, but because there was a statutory obligation to continue the support of our users, that was not an option. Retain, because of the closing of the data centers, that was also not an option. Repurchase wasn't an option because it was bespoke software and there wasn't a comparable commercial offering available. So we're effectively left with rehost, replatform, or refactor. Well, which of those is best? And in terms of exploring the art of the possible, we set up a proof of concept with a simple POC environment in AWS. We initially looked at the rehost and lift and shift, and we created a like-for-like baseline in AWS through applying automation and automated testing, infrastructure as code, as I mentioned before. And then we went a stage further because we had the problem with the technology uplift. We needed to make sure all of the technologies were the most recent versions. So we did that incrementally, again, using the automation, the automated testing. We were able to incrementally move from the current as-is baseline to the target solution, where we effectively also brought in PAS-DB. This was RDS, Oracle, and we took the opportunity to bring in things like self-healing, where automatically, if virtual machines go down, they get spun up again. New instances will get spun up, which will overcome the issues of the ones that might have fallen over. And then refactoring wasn't actually needed because we were able to achieve our target goals through the replatform model. So that's the one we selected. And then we went through the migrate and modernize stage. We actually migrated it in line with target KPIs, timescales. We've met the targets for reduced CapEx and OpEx. Again, we used the automated regression testing and for functional testing and passed that. We were able to pass the penetration testing. We were able to handle the usage spikes automatically, and we reduced maintenance through the use of the self-healing techniques. Ongoing releases were then built into DevOps pipelines, which enabled us to automate patching. Again, the automated regression tests allowed us to introduce change incrementally. So that was considerable success. The next stage, I'm going to go through a number of tooling highlights and a demo. So again, all about choosing the right tool for the job and applying it in the right way. So 3 recent options for accelerating migration that have come out of AWS are Cloud Endure. As you can see, this is particularly applicable to rehosting, and what it enables us to do is migrate live applications and databases to AWS. That will be the subject of the demo, so I'll say a bit more about that in a minute. There's VMware on AWS, which does what it says on the tin. If you've already got a significant presence of VMware in your enterprise, then a very simple option is to do a lift and shift of that into AWS. And again, immediately you can take use of cloud elasticity and AWS services. Another one is kind of the opposite, where AWS Outposts is a way of bringing AWS capabilities into your own data center. So this is applicable, again, to both rehosting and replatforming. And there may be scenarios where your existing data and infrastructure needs to reside where it is at the moment. And so this can help you take a step towards taking advantage of the cloud capabilities on offer. So I'm going to demo Cloud Endure now. The scenario that we're going to look at, obviously for a demo, it's a relatively simple scenario, but we have an application server and a database server that's in a legacy location, and we want to get from that into AWS. So effectively, it's lift and shift. So we want to end up with an exact replica of what we already have. So the steps involved that I'm going to walk through in part, because obviously in terms of real-time demonstration, it's a challenge to even with something like Cloud Endure to fit everything into the time available. But the first step I will walk through is created the subnets for the target deployment and a user role, a user identity within IAM. I'll set up a project within the Cloud Endure user console, which will effectively orchestrate the end-to-end process. We install an agent on both of the source machines. This is non-invasive, it doesn't require a reboot, and it has a minimal impact in the operational performance of the servers. What that agent does is it sets up a trust relationship and kicks off the standing up of resources in the staging area, particularly disks, and then it will initiate a continuous real-time replication from the disks from the source machines into that staging area. So whatever we have on those servers, it will be copied exactly byte for byte across from the source to those staging volumes. Then I look towards what my target deployment is going to be and set up the deployment settings. There will be various tweaks that I will want to do because AWS is going to be a little bit different from our source system. So I need to set up those settings there. And then I'll launch the deployment. So what that does is it fires up the target machines and then brings across the data on the disks and replicates those into my target machines. So this is where we find out whether the demo gods have been smiling. And I will look into the Cloud Endure console to start with. And this is the project that we're working on at the moment. I will take you back a step to how that started out. What we do is set up the project, and then we go into the setup for the agent, which basically means replicating this installation token. And I can actually add, this gives you instructions for adding the agent to the source machine. So I will just have a quick look at that now. Hopefully you can see this console here, and the green text is effectively indicating that the agent has been installed and has finished successfully. So that we did that for both the application server and the database server, and what we end up with is these two machines here, the WordPress server and the database server, and they're both finished replication, and they're now in a state of continuous replication. And what I can then do is set up my target settings, which is what's called the blueprint, which where I can sort of say what the machine type is, what the launch type is, where it's got to be deployed to, security group settings, IP addresses. I'm going to copy the IP address of the source machine and various other settings, and then I can save that blueprint. I won't do that here because I've done it before. And when I'm ready, I can launch the target machine. There's two modes. I can launch it in a test mode where I can do some initial smoke testing of whether the migration has been successful, and then when I'm happy for full-blown migration, I can use the cutover mode. So I'll just have a quick look back at the sample application. This is WordPress, which is a blogging and content management system. This is just a site that I set up quickly to give an indication of, you know, what a typical or an example workload would be, and to actually show you it working in practice. To show you it working, I will just go into the admin console. I'll log in. And it gives me, this is the admin console, it gives me all the capabilities that I need to sort of modify that site. So we can see it's working in the source environment. So when again, what I did earlier in true Blue Peter style is I launched my target machine in test mode. What you can do then is monitor the job progress. So I can see this is a sort of event history of what happened there, and I can see that it completed successfully. If I go over to my AWS console and bring it over, I can see, let me just refresh that. I can see that all my machines are up and running. These ones here, the Cloud Endure ones, are ones that Cloud Endure sets up automatically to help with the replication. This is one from a different project, but these two here, the Debian and the WPVM2, are the ones that I've migrated across. So that's my application server, that's my database server. I also have a Bastion host, which I will go into. You can see the IP address of the Bastion is this, so you can sort of scrutinize my demo and make sure it's actually true to what I say. So that's my Bastion host, and I'm going to go into the IP address of my AWS instance, and there we can see that the WordPress has come across, the database has come across because all of this information is held in the database. And let's go into my administration console. I'll log in. And again, I'm into my administration console. So obviously that's a very quick whiz through of what Cloud Endure can do. I'll go back to the slides. But effectively, that's one option. It seems like it's kind of too good to be true, and I can tell you that there are some things I had to get to grips with to make it work. So again, it's all about choosing the right tool for the job and enabling and making sure that we apply it in the correct way. So in summary, this is our summary checklist for Supercharged migration. First step is to find the right partner. We would recommend ourselves, obviously, for this. Accelerate migration using a proven, repeatable, customizable process, such as the one that we offer, which is assess, mobilize, migrate, modernize, and manage and monetize. Use the right tooling, and we can obviously help and advise with that because of the range of tools on offer. We have the experience of how to select and how to apply those tools. Apply them appropriately, and can't stress enough the need for automation. Obviously, at the beginning of your journey, you may be looking for quick wins, but automation will quickly pay off, both in the first migration and in follow-up migrations as well. So that concludes my part of the presentation. I do apologize for the glitch earlier on with the slide deck, and I hope that hasn't detracted too much from your experience. We're now open to take any questions that you might have.
Tom, in order to help Gemma collate any questions, could you just move forward a slide, please? And I'll just remind the audience of some of our other upcoming events and webinars. So this is just a view of over the next quarter or so. A lot of activity we'll be providing around monetizing your data in Azure using Microsoft Azure Synapse and Data Factory. We'll also be hosting a number of Informatica-based webinars around data fabric, data governance, single view of customer, and also hybrid cloud integration. We're aiming to squeeze in some more AWS focused events and webinars as well, so you can see really how we help you monetize and manage your data using the AWS services that I shared earlier. So we're going to bring some of those potentially into play as well. But we hope you enjoyed today's session. We've got some questions, I think, come in. So Gemma, if you could unmute yourself, please, and pose any questions that that have come in, please.
Sure. So the first one is, how would your migration approach translate for use with Azure and other cloud providers?
Okay.
Do you want to have that one, Steve, or shall I?
So I can. So if you add a bit more to it, Tom. Essentially, the approach, the three-step approach that we take to assess, mobilize, and deploy is an approach that works across multi-cloud, as Tom said at the beginning. So the same approach is used, but obviously there is different tooling available if you're moving to Azure or any other cloud. So Tom and the team on Azure that we have internally would help you there. But the overall principles and migration approach are the same. Tom, do you want to add anything to that?
I think that pretty much covers it, Steve. Yes.
Thanks. Gemma?
One thing you've not gone into is having an exit strategy. How would you recommend addressing this?
I'm happy to handle that if you like, Steve.
Tom?
Yes, so yeah, it's one of the things that I didn't mention, but is absolutely critical to the assess stage is having a plan in place of how you might cope with any well, I suppose catastrophic failure in either in the cloud provider in AWS or a significant change in your business strategy that means that you would want to move off. Having said that, so having an exit plan is important. Obviously, what I said as part of my slides is that it's the data that's the important part. So your data is the irreplaceable part. So long as you have a way and means of extracting the data in a cost-effective way, you can then, that data is then portable and you can take it to another cloud provider. And obviously then you're into effectively another migration process, but from one cloud provider to another. But effectively the same techniques and tools apply there. One caveat I would say is a lot of customers can get hung up on that, and it almost prevents them from moving into a given cloud provider because they're very nervous about how they might move out again. So I would say, yes, do everything you need to do to have an exit strategy, but don't let it put you off actually getting into the cloud, because the benefits far outweigh any potential drawbacks. Hopefully that answers that question.
Hopefully. Gemma, is there any more?
Yeah, final question is, when considering the infrastructure as code aspect of automation, how important is it to adopt a multi-cloud approach from the outset?
I can take that one again. So again, yeah, it kind of links in with the previous one about having an exit strategy. It's kind of saying, well, not only my data, but I want the abilities to stand up all my computing resources to be portable across cloud providers. So again, I think it's really important. It's part of the exit strategy. But again, I've known customers who've effectively spent ages trying to get a completely portable automation approach from the outset, and what it's done is it's reduced their ability to get to market quickly with their initial migrations, and effectively it's introduced a level of inertia that, you know, what we're trying to do is again supercharge and break out of that inertia. Trying to have a fully multi-cloud approach from the outset can introduce unnecessary inertia. So my recommendation would be to adopt a framework that is portable, such as Terraform, but don't be afraid of having cloud-specific customizations as well. If that helps you to get to market quickly, then I think you should embrace them. And then once you're into your first cloud, you'll have built the confidence, you'll have got yourself established, you'll have got the sort of migration factories in place and the best practices for business as usual. And then if it does come to having to migrate, then well, that's a bridge that you can cross fairly easily. You know, obviously you've done the groundwork of assessing what it would take, but actually implementing that multi-cloud, true multi-cloud, can potentially wait until the actual real need arises, rather than trying to second guess that need and waste time at the beginning as a result.
Yeah, just to add to that, Tom, obviously that's the scenario we're seeing more and more of in our customer base. So it's highly unusual for us to work with customers now that aren't already adopting a multi-cloud strategy, leveraging the best of breed services across them. So I think Gartner suggests 70% or so of enterprise customers have that strategy, and also a scenario that we're seeing quite a lot of is hybrid cloud as well, where you have some remaining on-prem capability and workload, and you're not a cloud-only organization. So hybrid and multi-cloud strategies are quite widely adopted for the reasons you suggested there, Tom.
Thanks, Steve.
Good. Okay, thank you. Well, look, Tom, thanks for answering those questions. Great to see that come to life, and the supercharging element come into life with the tried and trusted approach that you showed there. And the leveraging of automation technologies such as Cloud Endure. So this session is recorded, and it will be made available on our YouTube channel. And we'll also invite you either through your account managers, if you're an existing customer, or through our a marketing platform, if you're a prospect or potential customer, to these upcoming webinars. So if you find one that is of interest to you in the whole of the data, cloud and technology domains, then we'd urge you to come along. And as I say, if you could complete the survey that will be sent to you shortly, it's a short one as well, of course. We'd really appreciate your inputs and feedback there. But thank you all for coming today. We've finished up just on the hour, so unfortunately no one's got any further time back, but enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to engaging with you in due course. Thanks all.